Here I am with my son building the laminating table. This took the better part of a day between all the other activities that I did. We first spent a fair amount of time trying to get it all squared up and leveled in every possible direction, because every subsequent section would just be hung onto it. Yeah, that was my oldest son. We had fun working on it. I ended up putting 2x4s every 12 inches to support the half-inch MDF melamine plywood. Then I got my younger son and a couple of his buddies who were visiting to help me for a little while. So they helped me put in some 2x4s and screwed the ends. I think they had quite a bit of fun. Sorry the video's bumping around a little bit, but the wind was blowing and I'm still learning how to do all these technologies. Then I got my wife to help me, and we were a pretty fast team, as you can see, getting the rest of the runners and 2x4s and sheets of plywood down. So at this point we had a 52-foot long laminating table, which was feeling pretty good. After that I drilled holes at all the sheet edges, countersunk them, and then I came back later and I filled the holes. I tried some of them with some Bondo equivalent, but Kurt Hughes, he said epoxy would be better, so I switched to epoxy, and wouldn't you know it, it was right. The epoxy was easier to sand and didn't divot. So after we'd finished building the table, screwing it all down and filling the screw holes, the final step is to coat the table in wax. So we used a product called Honey Wax. Inside the tin was a can of wax, and on top of it was a little sponge that she's using to apply the wax. And then we use one of those microfiber, we call them chamois cloths, to sort of polish the wax after. That's what she's doing here. And we did 4 coats and we were able to get comfortable releases. I think we're planning to do 5 coats on the whole table before we put the fiberglass down. And I won't show you all the work, but we've got it now. The whole table is waxed and ready to go, so we can start making fiberglass for the first panel. In the background of the picture there, that's the foam that I'm using to build the boat. So once we use up that foam, we'll get better ventilation in here. Okay, the honey wax, I looked online, I couldn't find out what the coverage was, but it turns out we don't need much. So that's great.